Hello there. Welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today we will recap the comedy drama movie from the year 1997, titled The Sixth Man. This movie tells the story of two brothers who were famous basketball players during their college days. One day, Antoine suffered from heart disease and died, leaving their basketball team behind. But suddenly, Antoine's spirit returned to help his team win the game using supernatural powers. So, make sure you watch this video till the end for a better experience. The movie opens on a basketball court, where two brothers named Antoine Tyler and Kenny Tyler are in a basketball game against their rival team in 1986. Their motto to each other is A&K, which was specially made by their mother. Their father, James, coaches the team and orders Kenny to make the last shot and clinch their victory. During the last minute of the game, Kenny gets the ball and prepares to lay up to shoot the ball. However, he passes the ball to Antoine due to his lack of confidence. Antoine was confident that he would score and shoot it, but unfortunately he missed the shot, which eventually made them lose the game and lose. That night Kenny tried to console Antoine, who was still upset about missing the shot. James then told them that whatever has happened, let it happen. Henceforth they will stick together and be excited. Jump to adolescence. Both Antoine and Kenny were the duo of the famous basketball team at the University of Washington. They were star players and both were expected to have a big future in the game of basketball, especially Antoine. The two had already formed a partnership that seemed to be going anywhere. In the next scene, these two brothers and their team are celebrating their latest victory at a nightclub, but all they do is talk about basketball, even as they chat with women. One day during a game at the University of Los Angeles, Antoine manages to slam dunk and score, but as he hangs on the hoop, he suddenly has a heart attack, making him unable to breathe properly, so he then hits the floor of the court. Immediately, the game was stopped and medics arrived on the scene. Antoine was then taken to the university hospital. Unfortunately, after that, the team lost their spirits and ultimately lost the game. Kenny and the others were ready in the locker room to visit Antoine in the hospital, when suddenly their coach, Peterson, showed up to tell the team that Antoine had died on the way to the hospital. Knowing that, the team was devastated, especially Kenny. We are told that their father had also died of a heart attack. Kenny then visits the basketball court and starts reminiscing about the good old days spent with his brother. He starts venting his despair that God is unfair to him. Meanwhile, R.C. St. John, a sports reporter, sees Kenny despairing over the loss of his brother. The next day she approaches Kenny on campus and mourns his loss. In response, Kenny was frustrated that many news reporters were coming to him for interviews about his brother's death. They wouldn't even leave him in peace to mourn. However, R.C. assured him that she wasn't coming to him for interviews, and instead offered a shoulder to lean on to keep him calm. That day Kenny and the team practiced on the field, but without Antoine they began to fall apart. They weren't the same without him. While Kenny starts to be careless, and gets more and more inattentive during training, then Peterson approaches Kenny and asks him to set his mind on the game. He encourages him to get back to his passion with basketball, as Antoine would have wanted the same. However, still devastated by his brother's sudden death, Kenny thinks it might take more time. During a game against the California Bears basketball team, Kenny started hearing Antoine's voice, and soon after that a strange sequence started happening in his head. Kenny's team started to take the lead in the last second of the game, and suddenly Kenny hit a three-pointer from half-court, leading his team to a surprising victory. Everyone was amazed by the team's performance, and even the reporters were ready to write a new story about them. After the game, the players changed and prepared to go home. Kenny was the only person in the locker room. As he was about to leave he began to hear Antoine's voice once again. As he followed the voice and moved forward, he saw a flash of bright light and from there emerged the figure he had missed. It didn't take long for Kenny to realize that it was his brother Antoine. Surprised and scared at the same time, Kenny began to run away only to be forcibly stopped by Antoine,
Off me! It's you?
Who revealed that it was he who helped the team supernaturally at the beginning of the game, and explained the reason he came back was because Kenny called him. He was determined to bring home the championship trophy, so he promised to help his brother and the team in the upcoming games. The next day the Huskies faced off against the Washington basketball team, and it was going to be a tense game. While Coach Peterson was briefing them on the game's strategy, Kenny's teammates began to question Kenny's strange behavior, because only Kenny could see Antoine. At one point, the ghost brother began to pull pranks that only Kenny could see, so that made his teammates skeptical. During the game, Antoine assisted the team, and making spectators, reporters, and referees confused, because there were many strange events during the match, which were none other than Antoine's actions. Antoine also helped Kenny slam dunk at the last second, ensuring their team's shocking victory. After the game, Kenny and Antoine celebrated the victory in the locker room. Kenny jumped up and down hugging and throwing jokes with his brother, but his teammates only saw him dancing around madly, which they believed that Kenny was still struggling to get over his brother's untimely death. The next day Kenny saw RC sitting near the pool, and he started approaching her. RC revealed that she was determined to find the reason behind Kenny's miraculous comeback. Kenny then changed the subject by asking if they could go on a date, which RC happily agreed to. Kenny then went to practice, but Antoine's spirit did not want to leave him alone. That's why they often had friendly arguments with each other. His teammates stared in silence, thinking that Kenny had completely lost his mind. Kenny then tried to explain his unusual behavior. He told his teammates about Antoine's reappearance, but they were skeptical of Kenny and worried about his mental health. Hearing that, Kenny then begged his brother to make them believe that he was there. At first Antoine refused, but after seeing Kenny's confidence, Antoine decided to prove it. Kenny then asked one of his teammates named Donnie, who was the shortest of them all, to slam dunk. Everyone was surprised when Donnie managed to slam dunk with ease, prompting Kenny to make them believe that Antoine was helping them, but his teammates were still not convinced, and this upset Antoine, so he slammed every door and used supernatural powers to finally make the team believe that he was there. In the next scene, the Huskies team wins an intercollegiate competition and finally gets them to go to the national championship tournament for the first time. During one game, RC's boss gets suspicious about Kenny and the Huskies team, so he manipulates her to find out the truth. If she can find out what happened and report it, the story could go viral on news channels, so it could make her famous. Determined to check up on Kenny, RC goes on a dinner date with him. Kenny's relationship with her deepens, despite Antoine's attempts to break them up, as he believes RC is only approaching Kenny to get a story about him. Antoine's spirit continues to tease Kenny, causing Kenny to act strangely, and even sit in an awkward position to talk to RC, thus making RC think his behavior is very abnormal, though she doesn't ask anything about it before ending their date. After the date, Kenny tries to kiss RC, but Antoine's spirit doesn't allow it. Once back at her apartment, RC starts watching the Huskies game on TV and noticing something strange. She finally realizes that there are supernatural forces helping Kenny and his team win the game. Meanwhile, Kenny's teammates begin to have doubts about Antoine helping them in the game. They realize that their game is unfair and not of their own making, so they want Antoine to quit the team and not help. Kenny then tells Antoine, who becomes angry and vandalizes the room they are in. After calming Antoine, Antoine mentions that he never wanted to die. Hearing that, Kenny tells the team that he wants his brother to stay because he doesn't want to lose him again. Meanwhile, RC prepares to submit the story to her boss, but when Kenny reveals to her that Antoine is helping the team, she finally decides to drop the story about Kenny. While the team made it to the Final Four, they had to play against Georgetown. During the game, Antoine's tricks didn't work as well as before, so the Huskies started losing points, and he became frustrated and slammed Kenny's close friend Jared Smith into the basketball hoop. This seriously injured Smith, and he was hospitalized with a broken arm and a broken back. While Kenny was going to visit his friend in the hospital, RC arrived and told him that Kenny let his brother control his life, even in death, and Antoine would never really get to the afterlife, unless Kenny let Antoine go. Kenny finally realized that things were getting out of hand, so he decided to talk to Antoine. He then went back to the locker room looking for Antoine. When his brother appeared, Kenny told him that they had cheated in the game, so he wanted Antoine to not help the Huskies anymore. Antoine then expressed his desire to be in the final game, and hang on to the national championship title, but Kenny still refused. Other teammates also joined in and told Antoine not to interfere during the championship game, or they would voluntarily relent. Disappointed with that, Antoine then left, but he stayed to watch. The last day of the game finally arrived, and the team was ready to give their best. Before the game, Coach Peterson motivated the team with various stories of his own. When he was their age, he and his team lost the championship game, and to this day it haunts him. This motivated Kenny and the team as they set foot on the field, but because they were used to Antoine's help, they played poorly in the first half. Trailing by 20 points, teammates wanted Antoine back, so that they could win the title, but Kenny thought otherwise. At halftime he delivered an inspiring speech. saying that Antoine would always be with them in their hearts, they just had to believe that they could do it, and play the game with passion. Luckily the speech worked and all the teammates were inspired. In the second half the Huskies team put in an impressive performance, which made the game even closer to victory. The score was finally tied in the last second. The opposing team tried their best to defend but Kenny managed to get the ball in his hands, and with only 3 seconds left, he attempted the long shot that decided the game. Antoine wanted to make sure that they won so he tried to help, but Kenny told him not to help. Luckily, the shot went straight through the basket, so the Huskies won the national championship. As the final whistle blew to close the game, everyone cheered for Kenny and the Huskies. Meanwhile, before ascending to the afterlife, Antoine shared one last moment with his brother, reminding Kenny that he would always be with him. He then leaves through a white light. Coach Peterson sees this and asks Kenny, "Is this Antoine, a member of their team?" Kenny says yes, and says the catchphrase A&K, which signifies the spirit of two brothers, and that's how the movie ends. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. Thank you again, and until next time.